Sarvesh cleared his TEF exam with Frenchify and scored full marks in listening, 12 out of 12 NCLC, 360 out of 360 score. And let's see the full video to understand how he did it. Give us your overall study routine that you followed when you were beginner, when you were studying grammar. And
especially with the Frenchify program, there are a few things that you got to do. For example, there are a few grammar exercises which you do. Those exercises in the workbook is what was a game changer for me. That it's completely normal to have broken French in the very beginning. It's very normal for you to think in English and then talk in French. It's totally normal because that's how you learn French too. I wake up in the morning and then for like 5-10 minutes I talk about a random topic. For example, are smartphones useful or not? So when I talk about an abstract topic like this, I tend to talk about both the advantages and also the effects, so that I need to use good vocab for it, right? So that was really helpful for me. So talking about listening, I did more of listening. That's especially in B1 and B2 level, because there are close to more than 100 podcasts, right? That's an entire playlist over there. So it's really important to go over that playlist and watch every single video.
How was the overall experience in the center?
I wrote my exams in 2 centers. My first attempt was in GB Lang in North York. Second attempt was in College Boreal in Hamilton. Very good again. The instructor over there was much more clear while speaking, so it was easier for me to understand.
Perfect. Hello everybody, welcome to this video. So today with me I have Sarvesh. Congratulations for clearing your TEF exam. We'll be talking in detail about your learning experience and your learning methodologies that you used to clear the exam, because you cleared your exam in second attempt. First tell us about your score. How much did you score in first attempt, and after that in second attempt how much did you score to clear?
Okay, so my first attempt in listening I got a 5, in speaking I got a 5, in reading I got an 8, and writing I got a 7. So that's my first attempt. And my second attempt, which was after around 2 months I would say roughly, my listening I got a 12, got a perfect 12 in listening. Reading I got a 7, in writing I got an 8, and in speaking I got an 8 too.
So one thing which I forgot to emphasize when I was making video with Sarvesh, that he scored exactly 12 out of 12 CLB, which is 360 out of 360 score in his listening exam. We actually ended up discussing on his listening practice and how he used to practice his podcast and what was the important things he used to do for listening. So make sure to stay up until the end, because students faces the most difficulty in listening only because the accent feels very difficult, and Sarvesh will be able to give you advice on how to work on listening. Now how do you feel? I know you might be relaxed and you might feel like now it's finally done. So how was this, what is your overall conclusion from this journey that you would like to give to others?
It is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible, and it's not that French is something that's really hard to learn. It's one of the hardest tasks to do in this world, but for many of us over here, PR is something really important, and for that I think French plays a key role. And other than that, even in terms of finding a job and stuff, like if someone knows that you know French, that's a brownie point.
Correct. So let's talk about your learning. You started in 2025 beginning?
Jan 2025 is when I started with Frenchify.
Okay. Yeah. So what was your overall learning with Frenchify at A1 and A2? Give us your overall study routine that you followed when you were beginner, when you were studying grammar and trying to understand all the concepts first generally at A1 and A2.
Correct. So specifically in A1, A2, my goal was to explore the language, to see how this language is built, like on what the language is built on, like how the basics are, because we know English, the alphabets, and then we have grammar and how it's built. But in French, it's very unique when we come to know that each noun has a gender along with it. So that was something completely new to me. And even with the grammar, the different tenses, those tenses, we don't really learn it deeply in English, but in French we do, right? So that was a big difference. So in A1, A2, my goal was to explore the language and know which are the core concepts that I need to excel. So which is what I did. And of course, at the same time, it doesn't mean that we have to spend a lot of time in it, which was something that I learned the harder way. I spent around 4 months for both A1 and 4 months for A2, which is not really needed. I think 2 months is more than enough, and I think you can do wonders with that time.
Correct. And what is one piece of advice you would give to anyone who is at A1 or A2 right now, for them to follow if they are currently enrolled in Frenchify programs, on what they should be focusing on more? Because you have been through the same experience. You did the A1 program as well, A2 as well. So what they should do, which is going to be more efficient use of their time?
Yeah, so there are 3 important things that you got to do both in A1 and A2. First, watch all the videos, no matter what, never ever skip them. That has to be your step 1. Make sure to watch all the videos that's on the Frenchify platform, number 1. Number 2, make sure you have a strong hold of the grammar, because this grammar is going to really help you in B1 and B2. So grammar is really important, and never ever stop the habit of taking notes of the vocab. So I personally have a vocab sheet which says A1, A2, B1 and B2. So in each and every level, I made sure that I took the list of the vocabs and made sure that I also revised it in a regular manner, so that it made things really easy. So these are the three important things that every single student, both in A1 and A2, should do. And specifically talking about grammar, after each and every video, especially with the Frenchify program, there are a few things that you got to do. For example, there are a few grammar exercises which you do. So those exercises in the workbook is what was a game changer for me. Because without doing those exercises, I don't think that I would have a good hold of the grammar. So so making sure that watching the videos and doing every single thing that's been mentioned in the videos is very, very important in A1 and A2.
Correct. And let's talk about listening and speaking practice as well at these basic levels, because it's difficult to do more listening, because listening is one of the trickiest aspects especially when you're a beginner. And same thing for speaking, because right now our language is not that much developed, and hence it feels like fluent speaking is not something in our arena, like we can't do it, right? So how do we go with that discrepancy in learning, and how do we build that learning over the time to actually get better in both? So if you want to get started with Frenchify programs, you can message on the WhatsApp over here, or you can send us an email over here, and we'll be able to get you started according to what level you are at. If you're a complete beginner, you start at A1 level, as you can get your analysis test done first and then start accordingly. So make sure to reach out.
Okay, so first of all, it's very important for all of us to understand the fact that it's completely normal to have broken French in the very beginning, because the moment I think we try to become more nervous, the moment we don't understand something, or the moment we are not able to frame a proper sentence in French. So that's something that I really want to say. It's very normal for you to think in English and then talk in French. It's totally normal, because that's how you learn French too. But don't make that as a habit. We need to slowly evolve and make sure that we start thinking in French and also talking in French, which is what we do more in B1 and B2 with the amount of practices we do. So in A1, A2, first, in specifically with listening, there are basic YouTube channels. For example, there's something called Listen EF. There's French Facile, which is a vlogging channel. It's really good, because I personally came to learn more about Paris and how things work over there, and lots of good spots to go visit when I make a trip. So so that's really, really useful. Doing those simple things and making sure that you have a consistent touch towards the language in terms of listening is really, really important. In terms of speaking, it's completely okay. It's important that in A2 that we finish all the tasks that you suggest us to do, which again you later have a look and then you decide whether we are good enough to move on to B1 or not. In addition, what type of topics to talk and what type of topics to record by doing the speaking practice is that any topic every single day that I personally did, especially even in B1, is that I wake up in the morning and then for like 5-10 minutes I talk about a random topic. For example, are smartphones useful or not? So when I talk about an abstract topic like this, I tend to talk about both the advantages and also the effects that it has, so that I need to use good vocab for it, right? So that was really, really helpful for me. So this small practice that I do every single day for 5 minutes, and also it's very important to make sure that we upload it to a private YouTube channel. So one fine day, even after finishing the exam, I can still go back and see how crazy it was and what mistakes I did. I think that's the only way we learn. So these are like very crucial things that every student in A1 A2 has to follow.
True. Now, let's talk about, from A1 and A2, once you transition forward to B1 and B2, our exam specific preparations get started right from B1. Right? So how was your exam specific preparation experience when you first started with B1 intensive program, and then later you went on to B2, specifically talking about speaking first, and then we'll talk about the other areas as well.
Okay, speaking as the program itself says is intensive, so intense practice is really, really important. And especially with B1, we concentrate more with section A of speaking, and B2 is more of section B of speaking. But that is a fine mistake that many of us tend to do, which I personally did a lot. Even in B1, you should start leaning more towards section B of speaking as well, because there are all those shadow sessions which you do, which is really, really useful. But I did not attend any of those, maybe just one. And it's a mistake I did. Maybe that's why I did not score well in my first attempt. That was an expensive mistake that I did on my end. And I thought, B2 is only for section B and B1 is only for section A. But that's a very bad understanding to have. It's equally important to focus also in section B of speaking at the B1 level, so that when you move on to B2, you'd be ready for exam, like maybe in a month or so.
And let's talk about sessions with the instructors as well, because I think you have been one of the most regular, when I specifically in B2 as well, but in B1 as well, you were generally regular. Correct. Apart from this shadow sessions which you might have missed. So let's talk about how was your experience with the instructors, what feedback you used to get in terms of your speaking, and how did you work on that in terms of whatever feedback they are giving you.
Okay, this this is something I really need to share, right? With the instructors from Frenchify, I've seen even other people who do the same thing. But with Frenchify, what they do is, point number one, they ensure to keep the cameras turned on. No matter what. That might sound as a simple thing, but when you actually speak, when you actually see someone and speak, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And rather than looking at a wall and then talking, it's the same thing, right? But it's like very good that all the Frenchify teachers, they have the cameras turned on. Really, really important. And number two, every single time I do my speaking, whether it be section A or section B, they type out all the mistakes I do. Like they give me a list so that I can save this list somewhere and go through it and make sure that I don't do the mistakes again. I think there are many other instructors who don't give the list, who randomly say, okay, this could have been better, this could have been better, but that doesn't really help. When you have something in writing, it basically means that they've taken the efforts to do something for your betterment, and that's something that I would say it's a 10 on 10 with Frenchify, and that really changed the game for me.
Perfect. Thank you. And now let's talk about the final phase of your learning, B2, right? Once you went on to B2, you were like, okay, this is finally where I just like need to get started, and now this is the final phase of it. So when you're starting B2, you are close to the exam. So how does your methodology of learning changes in terms of, let's say, reading and listening? So let's say comprehension of the language versus production and expression of the language. So how does the methodology change there?
Okay, with comprehension, it's important that we read every single day. There's something that you advise, which is a rule of thumb, 2,000 words a day in reading. Very, very important. I blindly did it for at least a month. I made sure I consumed around 1,500 to 2,000 because it's really hard to hit 2,000 every single time. But the range was 1,500 to 2,000. Let it be French articles from La Figaro, Le Monde, and even there's a book called Think and Read French. It might be a little basic, but I think even for B1, B2, it does wonders because there are lots of words in there where they talk about different countries and different spaces, different cultures. So the different words, so we can develop a vocab too. Very, very important. So 1,500 to 2,000 words a day was really good for me, and it really developed my reading, which is why before my second attempt I only started practicing reading only 2 weeks before my exam, which is crazy to hear, but it really worked for me because I followed your method, which basically means 1,500 to 2,000 words a day. It really helped a lot. And again, with comprehension, talking about listening, I did more of listening. There's, especially in B1, B2 level, there's a YouTube channel called Inner French. It's a podcast. There are close to more than 100 podcasts, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
a lot of podcasts.
That's an entire playlist over there. So it's really important to go over that playlist and watch every single video. It might be hard in the very beginning, but it's good to break the entire podcast by one minute and then slowly go over it. It's really helpful. And closer to the exam in B2 level, what I did was I watched these videos in 2x speed because most of the audios during the exam are fast because the questions go very fast and the listening is a timed test, right? So you cannot go back to the questions as well. So I watched the videos in 2x speed, and also I had the transcript open so that I can also read it at the same time. So when I do this, I'm able to listen and also improve my fast reading skill. So yeah, it was very helpful.
That works. Perfect. Now let's talk about writing and speaking in B2. How was your training of speaking as well as writing in B2? Like, how did the templates help you for speaking as well, for writing as well, and how much did you use in the exam?
Yeah, to be honest, in my B2 level, I practiced section A and section B writing every single day because that's the point where I did not have a lot of confidence for some reason. But to be honest, in my first attempt, that is where I got a 7. I did have few grammar mistakes for sure, but the structure is what that made the impact over there because it enables us to make sure that we are able to express each and everything. Like if we are for the point that's mentioned in the writing, we explain twice on why it's good, like 2 separate points, and then we also give a counter argument why that might not be beneficial or something like that. So yes, so for that the template is really, really useful. The moment we practice around close to 20 plus writings in that specific template, I think you're good to go for the exam.
Correct.
Same with section A. Section A also has a template which you explain, and if you just follow the template and just make sure to include subjunctive both in section A and section B of writing, very, very useful. 7 is a guaranteed.
Now let's talk about the exam as well. The exam that you cleared, how was the overall experience in the center? Was the examiner helpful? Talk to us about the overall experience that happened.
For sure, yeah. So I wrote my exams in 2 centers. My first attempt was in GB Lang in North York. Very good center. The people over there were too kind and too helpful. So talking about my speaking instructor over there, He was very kind. He was a French native, so maybe because it was my first attempt, I was kind of scared and it was a little hard to understand what he meant. But I think it was still doable, right? Because with B2 level of listening practice you have, I think it's easier to understand what they say. So for me, it was doable. But the point where I lacked was I did not have enough practice with speaking. So which is why I was not able to make longer conversations. Maybe that's why I didn't get a 7 my first attempt. But yeah, the center was really, really good. And I also heard very good things about the center from other people. And another point to note is that it's very easy to find an exam date in that specific center, not your, because there are lots of students doing the TEF Canada exam these days.
Yeah.
So if you want to find a date which is like maybe the same month, GB Lang is the place to go.
Okay.
Second attempt was in College Boreal in Hamilton. Very good again. The instructor over there was much more clear while speaking, so it was easier for me to understand. And they were very kind as well, like from the starting to beginning, where they welcome you, take a picture, and then you do the exam. They were super kind. They also let me take breaks in middle of my writing as well. So I had to take a break, so I had to just go quickly and come back. They're not like too strict. So yeah, they were completely okay with, very chill.
Awesome.
Yeah, and in terms of something very crucial to all the students, they ask is it possible to see the clock?
Yeah.
Yes, from both the centers, from my experience, it's possible to ask them, if they could see the timer and then do the speaking. Yeah, it's doable.
Perfect. So, talking about this journey with Frenchify, what would you like to say about Frenchify to others as well, so that they can get to know more about your learning experience with Frenchify? So how was that helpful to you?
With Frenchify, it's a structure. I don't think this structure you can find it anywhere else. And this structure is really important because you need someone to hold your hand, take you in the path that they've been through. And it's not only you, there have been hundreds of students who are doing this.
Yeah.
And they've all seen success through Frenchify. So which is why I feel this structure is really, really important. And it's much more, it's going to make your learning process much more faster. So with this kind of a structure, it's easily possible to ace the exam from a newbie to a CLB 7 within 9 months. That's a guarantee which can be done, considering the fact we are consistent with studying and follow blindly whatever you say.
Correct. Okay, so Sarvesh, what will be your advice for all the learners, those who are probably at A1, A2, beginners, intermediates, for everyone, those who are feeling demotivated or those who feel like, okay, there's a big plateau and they just can't learn the language anymore. So what would you say to them, like how they should go above this?
Yeah, I know, right? Because for example, especially on social media, we see a lot of creators making content on TEF Canada and French in general. So we tend to get lost because we listen to several things and we tend to get lost. But I think it's really important to stick with someone who has proper structure like you, and then blindly follow what's being said and not lose hope. Because for me, I was really in the verge of quitting this entire process, but the only voice that was running in my head was that I'm almost there. So I just told that to myself and made sure that I practice on a daily basis, rain or shine. I just make sure that I practice, and that was really, really helpful, especially after my first attempt. I am sure that I grinded so hard, maybe which is why I got good scores in my second attempt. And also many people tend to be really perfect with the language. They want to be perfect before moving from A1 to A2 or A2 to B1. I think no, that's not really necessary, because if you tend to be more perfect, you just waste more time. Because over here, time constraint is something really important, because many people are on the verge of their work permit getting expired and all of that. So it's better to be fast enough and also do quality of work also with good quantity. So this would really help to ace the exam. And there are lots of students who also cleared TEF Canada, like your students like Rajan and others who have cleared the exam their first attempt. And this is the exact same thing they did. They made sure that they studied French every single day, no matter what, until they wrote the exam. French was their number one priority. So I think once we do that, I think it's highly possible.
Alright, so one very important question, so that everybody can get a correct perspective on learning the language, on how much time it takes. So how much time should someone study regularly so that they are able to clear the exam in less than 1 year if it is CLB 7?
Okay.
I would say close to 9 to 10 months, because now it is definitely possible. We have a very efficient structure, right? So for CLB 7, how much time it has to take on regular basis versus CLB 5, how much time it has to take on regular basis?
Okay, CLB 5 or 7 doesn't really matter. I would say that the amount of time has to stay constant. minimum is going to be 2 hours. Whether you're doing a 9 to 5 or not doing a 9 to 5, it doesn't really matter. 2 hours per day is the basic requirement to study French in order to clear your TEF Canada exam. Me personally, I did not do that, which is why it took me so long to finish my exam, because it took me almost more than a year, right? Because started in 2025 Jan, it's almost June now. So it took a year and 6 months almost. So yeah, so I would not really suggest to, be lethargic and, maybe do one day, skip the other day. No, that's not how it works. I learned it the hard way, because especially, which is why from Feb of 2026, after my break, because I had to go back home, I grinded so hard, because in a matter of 4 months I was able to excel the exam, right? So the reason for that is being consistent every single day and spending a minimum of 2 hours. That's the minimum requirement and a non-negotiable that every student should have. And the rest of the time is going to be subjective. But in terms of which modules to practice on a daily basis, listening is mandatory, because that is the most trickiest part. So listening is really, really important, and listening and speaking, no matter what, every single day. Listening can be done when you commute to work, or maybe when you're going on a walk, maybe in a park like this. It's doable, right? It is not really too hard, where you have to sit at your desk and do it. And yeah, so that's about it. And recording that 5-minute video every single day will really move mountains.
Okay. All right. So that was all about today's video. Thank you so much, Sarvesh, for giving this detailed insights on learning French and sharing his journey with us as well. Just a final sentence for all the students who are learning French, so that they can absorb this particular sentence from you properly.
The bigger the dragon, the greater the warrior. So French is 100% doable, and you're almost there.
Awesome. Great advice. Yes. Thank you everybody for watching.